All right, good evening. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be looking at how to sous vide, because I know that that's something that I've been pestering you guys all through text about sous vide. And do you have a circulator? Do you not? Are you interested? Some of you all said you were. Some of you all told me to piss off. That's all fine with me. I just want to show you exactly what it is so you don't have to be scared. This is a technique that allowed apiary to sort of be what we are. I honestly mean that. This is our golden goose. What it allows you to do is it allows us to prepare the food exactly the way we want it and want it for you at the kitchen, and then you can easily bring it back to temperature and finish it off in your kitchen to the same level that we do it for you when you have us over to your house for parties. So also it's going to open up another avenue, not only for you to be able to do things with the chef's table menus like this rack of lamb, but it also allows us to do tenderloin, chops, strip steak, other prime cuts. Right as of this point, everything that we've done in the meat section has been braised meats, and this allows us to do seared meats. So also, last point of this is that with this technique, we'll also be launching something called party kits. So I think mid-May, Brashear said that we could get together again in groups of 10. That makes for a really lonely restaurant, but it makes for a good house party. So this is going to be a technique that you can bring to your house and have people over and not embarrass yourself. That's my job, is to make sure you don't embarrass yourself. I take all the credit for that. So this is how it's going to work. This is the rack of lamb. This is what some of you all got this week, and this is the first introduction to sous vide. So I'm going to show you two techniques. One is, this is an immersion circulator, which some of you have heard about. Probably most of you have heard about it at this point. But this device here heats water to an exact temperature, and it holds it at that temperature. So if you look up here at the top, it says it's at 130 degrees. It just dropped to 129 degrees, back to 130 degrees. But I can adjust the temperature with this rolly thing right here to exactly where I want it, and it will hold it there. So when we retherm a piece of meat, we cook a piece of meat to an exact temperature at the kitchen through sous vide, through a technique like this. We have different equipment, but it does the same thing. And so this particular piece of meat, to do a perfect rack of lamb, is cooked to 136 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, once we get it there, we shock it in cold water, and we arrest the cooking process. At that point, it is safe to hold for several days. But from there, when we are ready to serve it, all we need to do is, when we come to your house, or when this comes to your house, is you would put it cold from the refrigerator into the circulator, just like so, and then walk away. It can hang out in here for a couple hours. It takes probably about 45 minutes for this lamb to go from the refrigerator back to around 130 degrees, well, exactly what the circulator says. Remember, I cooked the lamb at 136. As long as I retherm my product to below the internal temperature that I cooked it at, it will never overcook. So that's the beauty of this. It can hang out here. So I can put it in, I can be distracted, it can be rolling in here for a couple hours, and when I'm ready for dinner, I take it out, I dry it off, and I sear it in the hot pan. So this is a technique that we're bringing into your kitchen. I would imagine most of you have cooked somewhat before, so this is just adding a little element of fire to your hive dinners, whereas before it's been just ovens and microwaves, so a little more interaction there. So anyway, this is how the circulator works. The circulator, like I said, is the easiest way to do this water bath retherm. When we talk about sous vide, you actually, in how you'll relate to the hive, will not actually sous vide cook. You'll just be sous vide retherming, or water bath retherming. That's very important. But if you have this tool, they have apps that are associated with it. There's tons of stuff online that you can learn how to sous vide cook yourself. And there's a lot of stuff you can do, from eggs to fish to meats are really how we use it most commonly. But anyway, it's a fun, cool tool to have in the kitchen. It looks good. It does the trick. So anyway, that's how you would retherm in the water bath. But what I want to show you here is something, we call it redneck sous vide, which works just as well. This is actually one of the things that we're working on, are camping kits, how to really glamp utilizing this sort of food. And the technique that we use sous vide a lot of times out in the field when we do this, and we retherm our meats this way right here, which is that most water from the faucet comes out at about 130 degrees. And you notice that my circulator was running at 130 degrees. So I want to make sure I know what my faucet is because I want to at least get my meat up to around 130. So I'll just fill the water here. It's always good. Hopefully everybody has a thermometer. This is a fancy thermometer, but you don't necessarily need one this fancy. So it's something that you can definitely check the temperature. That's going to help when you're retherming anything that we send home, if you're roasting at your house, whatever, but also for testing to make sure that all your equipment is working right. This says 130 degrees. It's always good sometimes just to double check to make sure that, so they're communicating with each other, same temperature, so it means that this equipment is working correctly. So it's good to have redundant systems just to make sure everything is working correctly. Let's see. So when remember, I'm going to take this. When you get this from the hive, it's going to be out of your fridge. It's going to be cold. So below 40 degrees. So when I take this, I'm going to check the water temperature to make sure this is straight from my faucet. And you guys can see it's at about 128 degrees. Okay, I've used a larger stock pot, at least a gallon to a gallon and a half, because when I put this cold piece of meat in here, it will drop this temperature from 130, probably, you can see it will start to drop. It's 127. As you can see, the temperature is starting to drop slowly, and that's just because I put a cold piece of meat into this water. But because I have a gallon and a half of water, the amount it's going to bring that down is going to be not so much. So basically, I can do it like this. Once I've set it in here, I can walk away for about 15 minutes, let it sit, and then I'm going to pour this out and do another batch of water on top of that, another 15 minutes, and I'm good to go. Okay, that is one way to do it from the faucet. So I'm going to fill it up full, check my temperature, make sure I'm at least at 130. Put my meat in, let it sit for 15 minutes. I'm going to drain it, fill it again, and let it last another 15 minutes. At that point, the internal temperature of this meat should have gone to around 38 degrees, so closer to about 120 degrees, which is basically what I want before I go in the pan. So what this is doing too is, remember, if I were to a rack of lamb, this rack of lamb has been seasoned and cooked perfect temperature when you get it. If you do not utilize this technique and you just put it in the oven, it's just a lot harder on that piece of meat. You're going to end up with a drier, not as good product. So this is the way that we can ensure that you get the product that we want you to have when you get it home. So it does require a little more participation, but it's fun. So another way you can do this, so we're going to assume this, this is a cooking show, so we do a little bit of magic by moving things around. But anyway, the other way you can do that is I take it from 130 degrees from the faucet, okay? Then I put it on the stove and I heat it to 150. This is the way I would do it. This is the way I would do it if I was camping. This is the way I would do it if I'm going to do a water bath retherm without a circulator. So I am going to take this up to 150, okay? It's 20 degrees hotter than most faucets go. But that way when I put this meat in here, I can walk away and come back in 30 minutes and it's ready to go. I don't have to worry about swapping out the water or anything like that. To me, I think that the less steps you have, the better. This is the best. One step. This is second best. That's third best. So we'll probably clip back to this in just a second because it will take probably about 10 minutes to get to 150. All right. Our water's about at 150, 152. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Put this in. I'm taking it off the heat. I'm going to keep it on the heat. Sorry. That'll hold that temperature a little bit longer. But so then we just leave it for about 30 minutes and come back, and then we'll cook it. So set a timer. Okay. So the lamb's almost ready. I put the pot over here by the sink. You'll see why, because I'm going to cut it out of the bag, and then I'm going to dry it off over here before we sear it. But before I go through all of that, because remember, I've spent all this time trying to get this to an internal temperature close to 120. It was cooked to 136, so we know it's not going to be overcooked. Because then I'm going to take this, dry it off. And if you look over here, I'm going to get this pan going here, and we're going to sear this off so we get a nice caramelization and crisp and render the fat on that rack. And then I'll do a little bit of rosé on that, which you can choose to do or not. just to get a finished product. So what first we want to do is we want to get our pan hot, because the whole thing is if we're not ready with this, then we can lose all that time we spent to get our temperature up. We can lose it because we don't have everything ready to go. So we want to kind of get everything. So I'm turning this on cast iron skillet. That's going to be better, especially this oven throws off a lot of heat, but for most home ovens, this holds a lot of heat for it. So if you didn't have a really powerful oven, it's hard to get a really good sear on your meat. Also, I'm going to turn on the fan right now. It'll get a little bit noisy, but that's really important if you do have a vented fan. You can sear lower, especially with something with a fat cap with lamb, but if you're doing hard, fast sears like scallops and beef and stuff like that, it's really good to have a vented hood. So we will show you, there are ways that you can do the same technique and finish it on the grill. It's the same thing. I'm going to turn it. Alright, so that's going here. I'm going to go ahead and take this out of the water. With a knife. Take this out. So when the lamb comes in, it's been a very moist environment. You can already see all the herbs. We've seasoned it. Everything's ready to go, but it's a lot of water. So what we want to do is we want to dry this off so it's dry when it goes into the pan. Right? That's really important. Paper towel's fine. This you can throw away. See, there's a much smaller carbon footprint than sous vide to go through. So for the environmentalists out there, I would select sous vide. Alright, so we want to wait. If you look at the oil, you can't really see it, but most of you guys who cooked a little bit, you know how to tell when the oil's hot. But remember, I've got this fat cap here with the lamb. Holding it down. This is way more fun than refilming in the microwave, I promise you. It's worth it. Get to touch your food. So, because I have the advantage of the fat, I can do a lighter refilm on this. I don't have to do a really fast sear. If I was doing a tenderloin, or if I was doing a strip steak, then I would do a much higher sear. Because I don't have that fat, I want to get a good sear on it, good crispy sear, and then to your table. So you can see we need a little bit longer, but you see how we're getting that nice color there? Remember that the meat is already cooked, so all we're doing is making it look pretty right now. And also developing more flavor. I'm going to turn down the heat a little bit. Now, one of the things you'll see, if you look at this back, I'll show you how to fix that. This has been in a very moist environment, so you don't get that nice toasty look. But if I'm going to take this, see I've got that nice, utilizing the oil and the heat of the pan to give a nice sear all around the meat. So it all looks yummy. Something I can always do is I can tilt my pan and I can throw some oil on top of that. You don't have to do this. I'm not trying to do this to intimidate you. But you can already see how the bones are starting to change colors. They're looking more like it came straight out of the oven. So I'm going to do this. This is the rosé part that you can or cannot do. That's butter, that's garlic, that's rosemary. You can do thyme, rosemary. Remember, you guys, I think we're sending a bouquet garni home with you this week, which would work perfect like this. I know you've seen this on shows. This makes it look like you know what you're doing. Should be good for your guests when you have those parties of 10, 15 days. I'm counting. I hope you are. Right. I'd say that's pretty much good. See, look at that. It looks a whole lot different than it did when it came out of that bag. So, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to take this back to the back so I can get all that smoke taken care of. There we go. So, now it's a matter of cutting between the bones. How you like it? Boom. I knew this was going to cause me trouble. Maybe you want to do double bones. So if it's just you and somebody else eating, no need to cut them so small. Look at that. So that's perfect lamb, medium, still juicy. Remember, it's been cooked the same temperature from the front, from all the way the outside to the inside. So you may see a larger degree of pink. That doesn't mean that it's rare. It just means that generally in traditional cooking, when we go into a hot pan, we're cooking in a hot environment, we're cooking from the outside in. So a lot of times when you get lamb that's cooked traditionally, you'll have much more gray at the outside and just pink in the middle. So this is a much more even cook. That's it. Pretty easy. Have fun.